When did you watch someone's sanity slowly deteriorate? It was not really all that slow, but I watched my mother slip from genius-level intelligence into a drooling brain-dead shell within 6 months when she died from CJD. It was the worst thing I have ever seen. And I have seen the terrors and atrocities of war. A friend's grandmother started filling her bedroom with statues. It started with the Infant of Prague, and the Virgin Mary. Then St. Francis of Assisi. Then dozens more, several of them life-size. Her room got to the point where there wasn't one spot that wasn't taken up with statues except for her bed and a narrow walkway to the bathroom. It's hard when the person you're watching deteriorate is yourself. Source: I was diagnosed with psychotic depression and severe anxiety with panic attacks and OCD tendencies 2 years ago. Edit: wow, this really exploded more than I thought it would. Reading all the responses really helped me feel less alone in the world. I'll reply with more info about my experience when I get off work. When my stepmom left my dad, he spiraled way too deep into an opioid addiction. He would just lay down on the couch all strung out. Long story short, CPS was called multiple times, and after severe emotional abuse from him and manipulating and lying from his side of the family, young me was tricked into going back, and I keep beating myself up over it. Edit: thanks for the award, kind stranger. Edit 3 wow, thanks for another award, kind stranger. My sister passed away earlier this year and she was sick for a long time. During the last few months you could tell that it was becoming harder for her to think and respond. Paradoxically, it actually made her a lot nicer to me. We had never had a great relationship and I always believed she hated me, but during those last few months she said very few unkind things to me. It was hard to know that the only time we ever really got along was right before she passed away. My mom gradually slipped into dementia. Oh. She KNW who? I was till she passed away. She was convinced it was 1964. Instead of 2007, she would ask me if I had seen certain people. She said their names and where they lived. She remembered vivid and 100% correct details of 1964. I always agreed and never questioned her about how she reconciled the fact that I was 10 back then and 53 in 2007. I love her and miss her every day. My grandmother began to mentally deteriorate many years ago. When I was young and didn't understand what was happening, she would stand up and move to the corner of the room and stare at the walls. When I asked my mom what was happening, she told me not to worry and act normally. Took me a few years to process that and other quirks she developed before passing away. It was a harsh lesson in the realities of life, I guess. Probably selfish or self-centered, but my own. I was a guy with lots of friends. A good social life. Lucky and somewhat successful in many areas. Now I don't really know who I am, why I feel like I feel. And my past memories feel like a movie. As if they had happened to somebody else. Somebody that isn't me. My grandmother has dementia and I'm her caregiver. So, the past few years. Deleted. My mom passed away from cancer. A couple of months before her passing, she had dementia. She was still in her 50s at that time. She kept forgetting simple things and hallucinated. For example, she was hospitalized but she kept on calling our dogs, which was of course at home, to come to her. It's a very, very sad moment because I couldn't talk to my mom anymore as she became this other person. It was the worst time of my life. Knowing she was still alive, but she didn't remember anything. Once you get to your 30s, you have more likely than not witnessed a friend or family member succumb to substance abuse. It's sad to say the least. Holy shit, so many of you deserve a warm hug and a 10-hour Waffle House rant therapy session. I love all of you who are sharing your stories and pray things get better for you. My partner. I spent years and years getting her to see a doctor, and when she finally did, she was diagnosed with a condition. She took the medication and the severe mood swings stopped. The arguments stopped. The feeling of me walking on eggshells stopped. 3 weeks ago she took herself off them and it started all over again. My own. I've become increasingly paranoid of my coworkers. They can be dicks, but not always. I've shut people out as a defense mechanism, but they see it as cold shoulder isolationism. I've tried reading more and more books, but certain topics about the books make me sound crazy. Astrology. Especially. All in all, I feel like a man-child waiting for someone to come along and clean up my messes and set me up on the path I'm supposed to go on. The truth is no one's coming and my tantrums are just making my mental health worse.